Breaking news here on Chicago Bears Now. The Bears have lost Dayo Odeyingbo for the remainder of the season as he has suffered a ruptured Achilles. The second time he's torn his Achilles. I'm not sure if it's the same one, but he tore it, I believe, in the pre-draft process when he was coming out of college, and now he's torn his Achilles again. I actually don't know from a medical standpoint if it would be better if it was the same one or the other one. Either way, it's bad news short term. It's bad news long term, both for him and the Bears. And now, in the short term, the Bears got to figure out what they're going to do because they're thin at edge rusher. So we'll talk about this from all angles here on today's show. And listen, this is why you subscribe. Good news or bad news, we cover it all here on Chicago Bears Now. So hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications. We would greatly appreciate it. And we will continue to pump out content, including going live for the NFL trade deadline. So do not miss that. All right, Dayo Odyingbo, who, look, let's be honest, was not having the most impactful season. Had just one sack, and that was all the way back in week 1 going up against Justin School when the Vikings were without Christian Darrisaw. He was okay against the run, but I think even you were hoping for more there based on how much Ryan Poles has signed him to in terms of a contract, $16 million per year. But regardless of our feelings of the acquisition, the signing, how Dayo was playing, this is a brutal blow to the Bears' edge depth. You're already thin there. Shamar Turner's already out for the season. Dayo Odyingbo is now out for the season. Dominique Robinson has a high ankle sprain. He's probably going to miss at minimum 1 more week, potentially 2 or 3 more games. You are just thinned out, man. It's good to see Austin Booker come back and have an impact. I think in the short term, he might have to be a starter depending on what happens before the trade deadline this week. It's nice that Montez Sweat is playing better, but it's not like he plays 95% of the snaps. Daniel Hardy's a fine special teamer. He's not really a true defensive end. Like, you can put him in NASCAR packages, but he's your third healthy edge right now. This is what you got. This is what you got. Hopefully Dom Robb is back soon, but even with him, ideally you probably got to add someone. I mean, you have to get another edge rusher on board. Now, you can't just force the issue, but even if it's just some, like, pick swap for, like, a rotation guy who's near the end of his career, you need bodies, period, point blank. Now, I would chase a little bigger than that. I would try to get a more impactful player, but at minimum, you have to find a guy that can line up at defensive end and rush the passer for you. So this is a major blow. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. What is your one-word reaction to Dayo's injury? Let us know in the comments section down below. One-word reaction to Odyingbo being out for the year. For me, it's disastrous. And not in the sense because he was having an awesome year, because let's be honest, he hasn't had an awesome year. But for all the reasons I mentioned, but also these are the cap numbers for Dayo next year. His cap hit next year is $20.5 million. If you cut him pre-June 1, you actually lose $1.5 million on your cap. So it's a $22 million dead cap hit. Even if you cut him post-June 1, you only save $3 million. So, like, if you thought this was some out for the Bears, it isn't. Like, you got to hope he gets healthy and next year he can have an impact, because that is a big cap number for the way he was playing, and it's huge when you factor in he's going to be coming off another torn Achilles. It sucks, man. It sucks for Dayo. The injury's brutal, but let's face it, this contract's brutal too, and we have no idea when he's going to be back next year and how impactful he'll be. Maybe next year they'll have more of a plan to play him at defensive tackle. I think from a pass rushing standpoint, he can be more impactful there, but just not good, man. Not good in the short term, not good in the long term when it comes to Dayo Odyingbo. All right, we're going to explore some trade targets at the edge position coming up after we tell you about our sponsor, and that is PrizePicks, daily fantasy made easy at prizepicks.com/CLNS. The hard-hitting football action is even better with PrizePicks. The weather might be changing, but the feeling of being right never gets old. So keep the season rolling on PrizePicks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. It's very easy to navigate the PrizePicks app, as you can toggle by sports and then specific stats. As you start to make your lineups, you just pick more or less on stat projections for 2 to 6 player lineups, and if you hit, you win money. You can follow other PrizePicks players directly on the app, including me. Search at HGramNFL and copy their lineups in one click, whether it's a friend, celebrity partner, or someone whose picks you like. Hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on PrizePicks. I got a little two-player lineup for Monday night. Dak Prescott, more on his 268.5 passing yards. Also took more on Jacoby Brissett's passing and rushing yards combined. I'll be honest, when I made this lineup, I thought I was just passing for Brissett, but I still liked it with how bad Dallas' defense has been. But you actually get the rushing yards in there as well. $20 lineup to win $60. Check out PrizePicks today. Download the app right now. Use our code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. All right, let's explore some edge trade targets, kind of a few different caliber of players here that we'll go through. Obviously, Trey Hendrickson. Diana Rossini reported earlier today that the Bengals are still asking for a first-round pick. She's been spotty with her reporting recently, but if that's true, I mean, that's a joke. Like, I am not giving up a one for Trey Hendrickson. Plus, he's got a minor hip injury right now. I just don't think that would make sense. Now, would they settle for a second? I don't even know if I'd want to give up a second, to be honest. He's 30 years old. He's on an expiring contract. Like, I'll give you a third. If the Bengals say no, so be it, but we'll see how that shakes out over the next 24 hours or so. Danielle Hunter, kind of a name I've mentioned a couple times. Hadn't been heavily reported, but Danielle Hunter's 31 years old. The Texans are 3-5. They got to pay Will Anderson Jr. soon. I still think they're going to end up paying C.J. Stroud, so that's money they have to account for. Would you just get out from Danielle Hunter's contract? They gave him that $35 million extension for next year. Obviously, the Bears would have to deal with that in the offseason in terms of that contract setup, but that's something you could figure out later. I don't know. I'm not saying he's available. I'm saying I'd make a call if I was Ryan Poles. And these are two very similar players. Very good pass rushers, average to below average run defenders. But you need pass rush help in a major way, and Trey Hendrickson and Danielle Hunter can both provide that. Pick at edge. Type TH for Trey Hendrickson, DH for Danielle Hunter. Let me know who you'd rather have. Jermaine Johnson, a player that's piqued my interest over the last few weeks. He tore his Achilles last year, so maybe there's too much Achilles tearage going on for Bears fans' liking. But very talented guy, had 7.5 sacks the year before the torn Achilles. Felt like he was going to take off, then he pops the Achilles. This year in 4 games, he's been a little up and down. He's still working his way back. If you could get him for a 4th or later, I would do that. If it's a day 2 pick, I would probably pass. Kayvon Thibodeaux, the report had been that the Giants want a first-round pick. I don't think any team is giving up a 1 for Kayvon Thibodeaux. I think if you're the Giants and you get a 2, you should just take it because I think most offers would probably be a 3rd. That is what I'd be comfortable offering. I guess I would consider a 2nd, but I don't love that value. Bears are a little desperate now with this injury with Odeyingbo, so I guess I could swallow that pill if I had to, but I would prefer more of a 3rd. Not sure the Giants would go for it. Bradley Chubb, I think you're looking at more like a 4th or a 5th. Has a relatively large contract, counts $19 million against the books next year. You can get out of it after that year, so it's not disastrous. And he's a good player, not a great player, 29 years old, so still in the prime of his career. I don't think he's still like ascending, if that makes sense. He kind of just is who he is, which is a good, nice pass rusher, not a great player. So 4th-round pick, 5th-round pick, when you factor in the contract, I would be on board with that. Just some other names to monitor. Will McDonald with the Jets. Not really a scheme fit, but that name has been out there. Arden Key, Arnold Ebiketie. You kind of dip into that late-round pick swap range. Von Miller's probably the same as well, along with Matt Judon. Draymond Jones is actually having a pretty decent season. I wonder what it would cost to get him in here. Don't know if he's a great fit with the Dennis Allen scheme, but having a decent bounce-back year. Anthony Jennings, good run stopper, does not rush the passer. Boye Mafe, if the Seahawks got the right offer, they would consider it, according to reports. I'll just verbally mention the Saints boys as well. Chase Young, Carl Granderson, the Dennis Allen connection. If you could get either of those 2 guys for a middle-round pick, I think that would be something that Dennis Allen would certainly push for, and maybe Ryan Poles would pull the trigger on. Who is your top edge target? Who out there would you like to add to this defense to help replace Dayo Odeyingbo and ideally, elevate this defensive line because you still need pass rush help in a major way? Let me know who you are thinking about in that regard. My name is Harrison Graham. Dayo Odeyingbo out for the year. Hopefully he gets well soon and can get back for training camp next season. That being said, season keeps rolling along. We'll have you guys covered here on Chicago Bears Now. Hit that subscribe button.